Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to UI Breakfast. We are now live with a webinar called 4 Steps to Your Effective Product Strategy. And before we get started, I just wanted to introduce myself. So my name is Jane Portman, and I make a living by giving a recommendation to SaaS founders how to make focused, profitable products and how to solve their complex, expensive design problems. And by trade, I'm a designer. And I've also had a few, plenty of experiments with products because ever since I started active, public promotion, building things, which was 4 years ago, I've written 3 books ever since and advised multiple startups on building their stuff. So today we're going to talk about something that often gets overlooked, which is product strategy. What exactly you will build. And it's really, really important before you set out and do something. And we all are action driven. We like to jump in and do things. But before you build something, you need to make sure that people are going to need it, that people are going to use it and buy it. So today, our topic is product strategy and why you should be building your product and what exactly you need to be building. Let me share my screen with you. Okay, just a second. I will share my presentation with you today. Just a second. We are experiencing some difficulty here. Yeah, there we go. We have my slides up here. Let me open up my presentation for you. So the product strategy, we just discussed what this is and how I relate to that. And what kind of products we'll be talking about today. Products are essentially everything that helps you make money while you're sleeping. So anything you put up there online can be called products. It's infoproduct products like books and courses. It's software, and it's productized consulting. Productized consulting is a way of packaging up consulting and freelancing services in a fixed price packages, which is a pretty awesome way of selling things, because clients might be afraid to hire you because they don't know how much it's going to cost. They don't know what exactly you will do. And with productized consulting, you're essentially overriding that. So that's just one of my favorite topics. So if you're into that, do some research and look into productized consulting. And the common thing between all these products is that they are sold online. They can be booked without your help, and they're sold through sales pages, which usually imply like a lot of sales copy. So we're going to touch on that today. Before we start, I want to show you my book, my first book, which I wrote 3 years ago. It's called Mastering a Presentation. And as we're doing this with Dealfuel, it's up on Dealfuel right now. So it was a really good book. And what it did, it was teaching designers, showcase their work, showcase the mobile application and UI design, and selling that design work to clients. And I did a lot of big mistakes with the product strategy. Well, one of the mistakes was that I launched this to a list of to a very small email list, maybe 50 people, because I was pregnant with my second son, and I really had to get the book out before he was born. But launching to a small list is it's a problem, but you can always build the list later and keep selling the book if it's a good product. But if you make a mistake in product strategy, that kind of can be disastrous. After we are done with the strategy components, I will show you what exactly I did wrong with this book. So poor strategy is really bad because the mistakes you make in your product development can be reversible, and you just have to build the product from scratch again. So when we talk about product strategy, there are a few kinds of product strategy. First is why your product should actually exist. Second is what you're going to be focused exactly today and doing right now. And the third is what is exactly that you set out to build. So today we'll touch on the third part. So this screen is dedicated to the problem why your product should actually exist. And there's a certain method called 30 by 500 by Alex Hillman and Amy Hoy, and it's based on research. And it says that any product should only exist if it solves a specific pain for a specific audience. And the way to build products is to go out there, research, forums, research, support groups, anything like that for problems that people are complaining about, and only build your product that can solve actual real-life problems mentioned there. That's based on the problem that, customer interviews are not always subjective because people tend to be polite and kind and not always tell the truth. But when they're in the natural habitat, that's why the method is called Sales Safari. They're usually pretty honest because they have a problem and a big pain they're complaining about. So 4 steps of the product strategy we'll cover today is how to define your strategy, how to apply it in your product design, how to deal with new features and how to fight them off and keep your product focused, and how to think of a large-scale picture. Step 1 is defining your strategy. I have a method called the UI audit, which I apply to web applications, and this is how I define product strategy there. And not only is that applicable to web applications, but also to all kinds of products we're talking about. So the 4 pillars of product strategy are the audience, the goals that they want to accomplish with the help of your app, which is equivalent of the pain that we were talking about. The everyday tasks that they do when they log into your app every day, or what they do with your product, and objects that they manage. So question number 1, who is your audience? I see this way too often that people try to build something and they kind of put off the moment of defining their audience. I don't know why, because audience should come should come first. It should come before you start building anything, because it gives you an amazing privilege of building something specifically for a certain group of people. And no matter what you do, whether you write sales copy, or build the actual product, or write a book, you're gonna have the benefit of addressing a specific person, addressing their specific problems, and that's amazing. Otherwise, you'll just spend time being vague. So when you define your audience, you need to make sure. So we always talk about these parameters like who's this? Is it an agency? Is it a freelancer? Is it stay-at-home mom? Who can it be? But in addition to that, you need to ask yourself a few qualifying questions. Who is your ideal user? Not just some user, but the one that you really want. Do you know them well? Because it's going to be hard to build something if you don't know them well. Like if you know nothing about ballet, it's going to be tough to build, an application for ballerinas. Do you like them? And that's extremely important for your well-being as a founder, because you want to make sure you're serving and dealing with people that you actually like. Can they pay you? A good example here is, building something for schools. Because schools have a ton of problems you can solve for them, but they never have money to actually afford your expensive software solutions or anything like that. And their procurement process is really, really tedious. So building an app for schools, you can of course try that, but that's not going to be an effective, guaranteed solution. And do you know how to reach them? If you are doing something online, you need to be able to reach them, to find them where they hang out, so that you can, talk to them, invite them for an interview, and finally suggest your product. If there is no way, if they just, lurk in their apartments, it's going to be really hard for you to reach them out, because then you'll have to do like physical outreach, I don't even know what. So if you do an online business, you need to have an online way of reaching out to them. Pillar number 2 is goals. What goals is the user trying to achieve with your product? People always have some big goal in mind. And moreover, it's not just one goal, but it's a whole underlying pyramid of goals. For example, you're developing a web app for writers. And their big goal might be, I want to write a book. That's fine, that's great. But then you can uncover a whole system of goals that lie behind that. I want to write a book because then I can build authority, have better clients, make more money, and travel more. Or there can be another pyramid leading to another direction, like spend more on family or having a better lifestyle or something like that. And it's always great if you know all these big goals because you can address them in sales copy, for example. Question number 3 is tasks. What daily primary task does the user perform when they log into your web app? What do they want to do, with the help of your book? And it's going to be helpful to sort and classify these tasks by type. Some tasks are analytical. A good example of that is looking at the dashboard and deciding whether, something is going right or something is going wrong. The other type is proactive tasks, which are creative tasks when the person is setting, setting goals and achieving them himself. And the reactive tasks are about responding to things. For example, answering support tickets, or replying to messages, or following any other activity that you need to react upon. And it's a great idea to combine all these tasks so that the user has multiple reasons to show up. For example, they have a few incoming things so that it can be reactive, and they have also like an interesting environment to be creative and proactive in. Because if your app is focused on just one type, that's probably a big trouble because people might not have a good reason to log into your app if they don't have any incoming messages, for example. Question number 4 is objects or items or nouns, entities, any kind of, things that people use, manage, take care of using your product. And for web app, that can be things that are managed. And for book, that can be, a vocabulary of terms or anything like that. It's pretty important to write it down because it helps to define the whole structure of the thing usually. It's especially applicable to web apps. Use the real language of your customers while describing all these 4 components. And it's extremely important. And that's because people are going to be looking for their native language, native talk, and concepts that they used to when they use your product. The way to fish out these things from real life is to do some research again, use the same exact Sales Safari method, maybe go to forums. Another great place I forgot to tell you about is Amazon reviews, where people are, talking about products, relevant products. Go there, find exact phrases that people use to describe their knowledge domain. Log that and try to reuse this language while building your product and then writing sales copy about it. So once you define your strategy, write it down and stick to this. And now let's see how you can apply it. In your sales copy, you need to address the audience that we mentioned specifically so that they know from the start, from the first headline, that this page targets them. That's going to make them stop in their tracks. In your sales copy, you want to appeal to their big goals and describe the tasks that we talked about. In product design, you want to make the accent optimize the most important few tasks, and that's going to make your product successful. Also, while you're working with that, focus on one task at a time so that it's edible for the user, and carefully manage and log the important objects. This is a little bit vague because I'm trying to address like different types of products, but let's say in books and courses, here's how it translates. You can organize your book as a sequence of key tasks, which will make it super actionable and useful, and people love actionable books. You can focus on one task per chapter, for example, and you definitely need to be consistent with your language. Make a glossary, give definitions to things, and use the same words for the same things across the entire book or course. In software products, in SaaS applications, mobile apps, stuff like that, you should focus on streamlining just a few important tasks that your app does best. That's what makes your product good, not just, addressing dozens of features, because it's never possible to make a dozen features awesome, but it's rather possible to make just a couple of them awesome. And that's what people will love you for. When you're going inside your web application, for example, make it one important task per screen. Of course, there are usually more, but make sure just one of them stands out, and make sure that you just address the whole design process, streamlining that very task, not like a bunch of tasks. And build your navigation around objects. That's another big thing, because people need to know where their objects, where things are located. One of the biggest mistakes in software design is trying to put verbs in navigation, and it really doesn't work because there are too many actions that people can do. So instead of organizing actions, try to organize things. Here's what Ankur Nagpal, the founder of Teachable, said. Find out what people like and make your strengths stronger. That's exactly about focusing on the strong features, because that's what makes people love you rather than a product that's just okay in every regard. So making strengths stronger is way better than trying to be vaguely good across all domains. So what did I do with my book the first time? This book, so I was wrong. While creating the book, I was wrong because I didn't pick a specific audience. I kind of knew that it was designers and the designers need that. But I also thought that that's a nifty, presentation is a nifty topic, and, product owners, founders might also benefit from it when they're showcasing apps on their website or in App Store, for example. So I did my best to write the book for everyone. And it felt miserable trying to cover all kinds of people in the copy and making sure the copy is so vague that nobody gets offended. And I specifically spent extra time on making it vague, while it's exactly what you should never do, because your copy should not be vague. It should address a certain person in a certain situation. And the surprising effect of that is that other people who are not in that situation are also going to be touched by that, because they see it's not necessarily applicable to them, but they see how crispy you are with your offering, and it starts to resonate with them as well. While just building vague things never works. Vague audience results in vague goals and vague tasks, and even if I wanted to remake this book right now, the only way to do that would be to rewrite it from scratch, because there is so much vague copy, and unfortunately it can't be rescued. So the next time I wrote a book, I wrote two more. One is fundamental UI design, and the other is the UI audit. And with the UI audit, I made sure I target a certain audience. So my audience is SaaS founders, and even though there are not so many founders out there, it still attracts plenty of UX designers, because they just hear how important it is to solve design problems. Step number 3 we're going to learn today is how to deal with new features. Feature creep can ruin your product, that's for sure, because the founder's daily life consists of people addressing them about their product. Can we make this feature? Can we add this? Can we add that? Why is it so? And if you give in and just build everything that people say, you're gonna end up nowhere. Let me show you why. Here's a story. Here is a Shubunkin goldfish, which is a very small, nice fishy. And my mom, so I have 2 kids, and my mom gave them these 2 fishes as a gift. They're really cheap. and I don't have an aquarium. So I figured maybe it's time to get a fishbowl for myself, for the kids, and it seems interesting. And then I did my research, and here's what I discovered: that these two-pound fishes breed a ton of expensive implications. First, they require like 20 gallons of water for the first fish and 10 gallons for each additional fish, which is like 30 gallons of water, a huge fishbowl. Which should come equipped with all the fancy technology and everything. These particular kinds of fish like to dig out plants and bully other kinds of fish. And if I really were to start my own fish bowl, I wouldn't pick this kind of fish first ways. And also they need daily maintenance, which can be troublesome if we're traveling, for example. So this easy decision of taking up just two little fishes could imply such huge number of problems. And works the same way in the software that you make and in the products that you build, and even if in your freelancing services that you offer. Because new features breed implications with strategy. You're no longer able to build what you want because you have these side features creeping out in different shapes. You have a problem in marketing and sales because your product is not focused. You're not sure how to sell it. You definitely have problems with support. First, because all these features need to be addressed in everyday life. It's technical support, and it's the technical burden of supporting it with development, and it's usability because extra features do clutter the interface a lot. Here's what Peldi, the founder of Balsamiq, says about that. My job is saying no a lot. You can't make a tool that satisfies everyone, and if you try, it's going to be a terrible tool. And that's exactly so. As a consultant, I can second every single word in the sentence because every day I see these Frankenstein products that are, just not a good story to share, because there's such an abundance of unnecessary feature that they kind of stop being focused and just bland and not very successful because of that. So when you are facing a new feature, the classic qualifying questions are, does it solve a real pain? What are the development and support costs? Maybe we can build an integration before that. And what part of the existing user base will benefit from this immediately? But from the product strategy standpoint, we can ask another bunch of questions, which I like way more. So a few more questions. Does this new feature serve your ideal audience, or does it expand the ideal audience, making your product less focused? Does it serve a big goal, or does it add more goals to the user's place? Same with tasks. Does it add new tasks? And does it breed new objects in your system? Because if it does, maybe it's the right place and time to say no and keep the product as it is. Because more goals and more tasks on their plate don't make a happy user. They will log into your app and see that they have so many things to do, and most likely they don't have time because everyone is busy. So step number 4, let's think large scale. And before we talk about that, I'd like to invite you to ask questions below, because I forgot to mention that in the beginning. So if you have any questions regarding the problem, strategy, product development, anything like that, feel free to ask your questions in the questions and topics section below. So think large scale. Nothing exists in isolation. Your product doesn't either. So the most classical, simple product lineup consists of a free lead magnet to capture visitors on your site, which is usually a free course or maybe a cheat sheet, an entry point purchase, a book, and the main product, which is your software or maybe a consulting gig that you're trying to sell on your site. The advanced product lineup consists of a free lead magnet that we mentioned, but we are also adding a couple more things. One is medium touch product, which should be somewhere into $300 range. For example, a more expensive course, workshop, or consulting package. And we are also adding the last option, which my friends call the Mercedes option, which is a super expensive dream product. For example, you can put a super high price tag on, I will do everything for your business in 1 month for like $25,000 or something like that. And even though realistically no one is probably going to buy that, it still serves as an anchor for your other products and makes them look less expensive in comparison. And that's a very important thing to have. And one more thing, for the whole lineup, people do love to see prices because it helps them to anchor your service to something in their mind. If they don't see prices, they will just be left wondering. If they see prices too high, well, it's right, they're not going to buy right away, but they will start thinking, oh, wait, maybe it's an amazing product. Maybe this person is doing something awesome. Maybe I will come back when I have money. And that triggers a whole, wave of emotions in the user's mind. So when you're planning this product lineup, it's great to think of your personal strengths, because we all have some kind of care heritage and background, and it's awesome to leverage that. Ideally, all this whole product lineup that we're talking about should be targeting one audience. But this is the easiest way to do things if you plan it like that. But in real life, it's sometimes different, because people who buy your books don't necessarily buy your consulting products, for example. So you might be serving your consulting services to one audience and your free stuff to the other. That's fine, but let's see how you can combine that in a very interesting lineup. Here's my friend from Canada, Marie Pullen, and she is the founder of Digital Strategy School, which is a training for designers. It's an expensive course by essence. It's something above $1,000 for entry. And she has a software product called Doki, which is essentially a building tool which she uses to build that digital strategy school. And she also consults other clients to build online courses using the same Doki tool. So she has 3 branches of her business, but they're all so closely tied up into the online education expertise that in spite of the fact that she has different audiences, it's still not a trouble for her to sell all the things and to make a happy living of them. So when you're building something, you're going to have to promote it somehow. And the most popular way of doing that is content marketing. So when you build a product, it's amazing to have that content marketing strategy lined up in your head. And it's a very long-term game. And I know we are all human beings. We don't usually have time to do everything at once. But it helps to plan it in steps. For example, the 0 level thing is to set up your website and a mailing list so that you can start collecting email addresses with a free course. That's like a zero level setup, because that's how you start building your audience, and that's the audience who you will show the remaining things to. The audience is a very important thing, especially a list, because whatever you build next, you can just email it to them and they will see. Otherwise, in real life, you don't have any other ways of reaching them out. If you have an amazing Twitter following, that's cool. But if you do something, if you make something and you just tweet it out, you're probably going to get 10 retweets at max. And nobody else will pay attention to you in their busy life. So email list is a way to go. Then you should start doing a blog and sending out to your list. Whenever you have time, add a book to that lineup, because book is an amazing way to build authority, credibility, make some money, etc., etc. Then you can experiment with few other formats like podcasts and videos. And you can do this all gradually. You don't have to do this at once, but and it will take years to accumulate an audience. But once you do that, that's going to be way more successful than just having no strategy at all. So the call to action for today is to continue learning about product strategy with my free course that, of course, relates to UI UX design because I'm a designer by trade. You can find that at uibreakfast.com/1hour. And there is also a big green button underneath the screen which says "Get the UI audit" with the promo code DILFIELD29. That's my book that we're talking about, and you can use promo code to get 29% off any package, which is a good deal, I think. So that's primarily applicable to people who are building software and for designers. And the closing words for today's webinar is that, when we build products online, we are most often bootstrapping them, so we don't have all resources in the world. We don't have money. We frequently don't have time to do something, but keeping your product strategy focused doesn't require time. It doesn't require money. It's just about saying no to things which we can all afford. And by doing that, you can give yourself a luxury to write focused sales copy, build a product that people like and need, and actually staying true to your word. So I do highly recommend trying that and building something small, nice, and selling it to the audience you like. So let's see if we have any questions for for today's webinar. We have, no, we don't. Kirsten says, just wanted to say thank you for a very interesting webinar. Thanks very much. And I would like another minute if you have any questions, please chime in with the questions topic. Meanwhile, let me stop sharing screens. Yeah, there we go. So that's me once again. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that is useful for you in building products. And anytime, drop me a line at jane@uibreakfast.com. Get the book, get the free course, and have a wonderful day. I will mail you out the recording. The recording will be available at the same URL, and I will mail out the slides to you for your reference. Thank you very much for your time, and have wonderful product strategy. Bye.